Annie Sloan.
And I'm Tristan Merriam.
And this is The Colourist,
a podcast about colour and its influence on our lives. So last week, 2 weeks ago, we were speaking about capability green. Mm-hmm. We gave people a little bit of homework. You dropped a little clue as to what we're talking about. The colour is Whistler Grey, which you said.
I did.
And you said if they want to do a little bit of research, there's a very famous artist called
James McNeill Whistler.
And that is the topic of our episode today.
And I'd be very surprised if anybody did any homework. I never did my homework, so
No.
I don't
We've only had a few emails and letters sent in with homework. We've got to mark that later. But yes, it's good because it gives people a little taste of what's to come. And there is method in the madness in that these episodes have a flow and one leads on to another for a reason. And you determine those reasons. So why are we talking about Whistler Grey today?
Well, I've been talking a lot, and particularly with the greens, but always I talk about complementaries. And complementaries to me are very, very important. It's the whole thing. We did Giverny, we did Capability Green, and all of those colours I'm always mentioning. Capability Green, the complementaries are the reds and the pinks. Mm-hmm. I talk about Giverny and the complementary there's the oranges and all the rest of it. And, you know, my paints are made so that they mix without black in them. And then along comes Whistler Grey or
Right.
James McNeill Whistler. And, well, he didn't believe in that whole thing about the complementaries. He was a contemporary of the Impressionists, but, you know, for him, and my theory is that he did actually, he knew about them, but he didn't like that whole thing. He just thought it was, I don't know, but he didn't like it.
Overrated? Irrelevant?
Irrelevant, I think, because he was going down another path completely. It wasn't about colour, although his was more about form and shape and all of that sort of thing. And not about content either, it was about form. So he wanted everything to unify. So what he liked was black.
Okay.
And
grey, therefore.
Well, yeah, therefore grey. So what he was doing was making colours or making paintings out of the harmonies of black and white and making grey pictures. I mean, that is it.
So please
the end of the
answer
podcast.
this question. Yes, someone like you who loves colour and complementaries and, you know, all of the stuff that goes with that, what did you admire about his work? I mean, I'm going to ask that question first and hopefully through that answer, when was he alive? When was this happening? I don't think we've said
So he
that.
is the end of he's mainly the end of the 19th century. So he actually spans the whole of the 19th century almost, and just into the 20th century. Died in 1903, I think.
Okay.
So, but he is in a way quite a modern artist. What I really love about him is that he talks about form and shape beautifully. So there's a very, very famous painting called Whistler's Mother that you may have heard of. So when we post this episode, I will put this picture, this very famous picture of Whistler's mother. He often used her as his muse. And he wasn't interested in, I suppose, he loved his mum, I'm sure he did. But it wasn't about his mum that he was talking about. He doesn't do moral stories or anything like that. He was doing it as the shape of the black, the shape of the grey, the shape of the other greys and all of that. So it's a sort of abstract painting.
Right.
And I think, you know, if you're going to paint furniture, you're going to design and put pictures on of any sort. You've got to think of the form and shape of where you put stuff.
And the composition, that's what you mean.
That's what I mean. It's composition of it. And another way is talking about form and
Yes.
shape. And it should be balanced. And so you talk about, when you're painting, you talk about positive and negative shapes. So with him, you have the big shape of the mother figure.
From side
on profile, sitting at a chair, and there's a curtain, and there's a painting on the wall. So it's a very it's quite a sort of objective view of his mother, and there's just a little tiny bit of colour, but it's mainly this balance of the big black shape, the greyer shape, and the paler grey shape in the background.
50 Shades of Grey.
Well,
We're probably not allowed to say that on here, are we? But we're not advertising anything.
I don't know what it is.
Okay, of course not. Far too innocent.
Very innocent, very.
And is this
sheltered
painting, Whistler's Mother, is that kind of similar to his other paintings? It's all very
sort
black
of.
and grey and form-based.
Lots of greys, but he also did lots of whites as well. So, I mean, there are some beautiful, beautiful paintings of people all in whites, which are fabulous.
So he wasn't really a colour lover.
No, I think maybe what I would suggest that he found colour got in the way. And, you know, when you are painting, sometimes you think, I've got to get the shapes right. Oh, gosh, now I've got to think of the colour. Or I'm doing the colours, but the shapes are all wrong. So the two things are separate.
And the colours might compete with the form. Because you might see a bright colour that might detract from the form.
Exactly.
You know what
exactly.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So, and you're trying to balance it, and you're finding that the background is coming up too strong. You want the background to disappear. So, what colour do you use? So, it's all of those things. And it, you know, when you're painting furniture, it happens. You know, what colour am I going to put there? Because if I do it too dark, it's do this, and so I think he's a good person to look at to see. How you balance colours, and why Whistler's Mother, that picture, is fabulous. And I love it that there is a picture behind her, the Whistler's Mother in profile, the curtain, a picture behind, and then just another little bit of picture where you just get the side of another painting, which is, I mean, that's quite
just
genius.
A tiny little glimpse.
Yeah. You could say, well, why is that there?
And that comes down to form.
And I think
he's done that
balance.
very purposefully. Definitely balance. Yeah. He's thought there's a gap there. I need to, bring something in. So you're inspired by that.
Yeah.
But not so much his use of colour.
Hugely respected. I mean, for me, I think it's really pretty incredible.
And I like that, going back to what you said, that he was famous for promoting art for art's sake and not needing a moral or a deep, significant meaning behind that. It was just for the sake of it being a piece of art.
So he's famously known for art for art's sake, which is a very modern concept. Because before that, people were always making a painting about, something moral, something uplifting, something to make you cry, something to make you sad, illustrative things. And he was like, no, this is just about a sound, like it could be music. It's abstract like music, but it's abstract like a picture, which I think is...
I think it's fantastic too, and I completely agree with that theory, that idea.
Yeah.
But I suppose at the time, his work was met with quite a lot of criticism, and a certain an element of snobbery, I suppose, because he didn't believe in all those... really well thought out things.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there'd be some people who loved him, but he did have his detractors, certainly. So, so Whistler described black as a universal harmonizer. I think that's a really interesting way to describe it. Believing it could create a unified total harmony when mixed with other colours. So that, for me, is like, don't mix it. But for him... if all the colours in the picture have black in it, they will all harmonise.
So we're talking, to be clear, you're saying actual black pigment in the other colours.
Yeah.
You're not saying a black object within a painting. It's actually black in the other colours mixed within...
I believe that's... Yes. So he did used to do very grey black colours and white colours, very simple grey colours from dark to light. But any colour that he had in there would have black in it.
That's really interesting, because there is, if you sort of think of it as the other way, there is an argument that every room needs something black in it to kind of ground that room. But he's actually saying... no, it's putting the blacks within the colours, and that contradicts you completely.
Yeah.
Because you do not have any black pigments in any of your paint colours apart from the obvious, Athenian black, graphite, which is a very dark charcoal black, and
Whistler Grey, obviously.
Obviously.
But also another one, which is Oxford Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And when you add white to Oxford Navy, it becomes a sort of greyed blue.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Whistler Grey.
And I think, that's brilliant that it's called Whistler Grey, obviously after Whistler.
Yeah.
But the fact that there is black in that, in his colour, and he loved black, I think is a fantastic coincidence. Probably not a coincidence, but I think that's really good. Just very briefly, as a kind of side note for people who might be listening, saying, what does she mean, no black in her paints? Why do you not, because I know it was very important for you from day one, why did you not want to have black pigments in your colours?
Well, first of all, if you have black in your colour, when you add white to it, it becomes a greyed colour. So I already said that you will notice it in my Oxford Navy. When you add white to it, you don't get a beautiful pale blue. You get a sort of greyed blue. Mm-hmm. It's grey and it's obviously grey. And that's just not... I don't like that it's always there. If I want to add it, I like it. But I really did want just a really good dark blue, so that was fine. But most of them don't. So if I have, say, like Giverny I was talking about, so if I put black in Giverny, when you add white to it, which you very well might want to make some sort of furniture painting, you would get not a beautiful pale blue, but a greyed one. It'll certainly have
and that's a big thing about these paints. It's very easy to mix them and blend them because you end up with these fresh, true blends.
Clean colours.
Clean, that's the word.
Sort of clean, yeah.
And whereas you might use other brands of paint, or you might have had a bit left over and you mix it and you think, oh gosh, that's very dirgy, or it's very dark, and it's probably because there's a little bit of black, or a lot, as it may turn out, a lot of black in that colour.
Yeah, exactly. So I like to keep them very clean, and that allows you to then play and do all sorts of things. And we can do a whole podcast just about that.
Absolutely, but we're not. We're on Whistler Grey. So your colour, Whistler Grey, we know who Whistler was. We know that he had this style based on form, a lot of neutrals, a lot of black, a lot of grey. He was called Whistler, so hence your name, Whistler Grey. Yeah. Describe this grey. Why? What sort of grey is it?
It's a slightly blue grey, because whenever you see a Whistler painting, you'll see that grey that he used was quite a grey colour. A blue colour, sorry. It's just got a tinge of blue in it. Whereas my graphite is probably slightly more brown. And I did that deliberately, partly like Whistler, but partly because I wanted it to have a bit more life to it. I want to be different too to graphite. So if you add white to graphite, it's a particularly different colour to the colour that you get when you get the grey from Whistler Grey, even when you add white to it. So yes, it's a slightly blue grey, a sort of very slightly steely grey.
I was going to say the word steely. I think that's the word that came to mind when I saw it. And how do you see it being used? How have you used it? How have you seen other people use it in a really effective way? Does it suit a particular style of furniture or style of interiors?
I haven't used it much in my house. In fact, I don't think I've got it in my house at all. Yeah, it's interesting. But I think that's because my house is quite... it's... Oh, I hate that word. Eclectic. It's a bit older. I've got such a mixture of things. I think it needs that clean style. And what I love the idea of is it... Because we talked about this a little while back, and we said that it's a sort of beatnik colour.
What do you mean by that then?
Well, beatnik would be 1960s, sort of left bank France... Jean-Paul Sartre, and everybody's very
cool,
chic and cool. Or New York with Allen Ginsberg and the Beat Poets, all of that, really cool. The crew necks, polo necks, all in black,
Yeah.
and jazz, and that sort of blacks and greys.
Yes.
Grey would be...
And in terms of interiors, as you say, I imagine like a New York apartment where there's concrete, there's stone, and then there's the odd piece of Whistler grey. It's a very effortless
and
colour.
maybe done to a high shine.
Yes.
So you polished it. But, you could also give it a slightly sort of warehousey look.
That's it.
But that's also that sort of look. And I would put with it some, like a stripe of paprika red. Or a really hot English yellow. That would be...
So quite contemporary, quite
Yeah.
sleek,
Yeah.
quite cool.
Yeah.
Not sort of an older piece with carvings. It doesn't tend to lend itself to that style.
No, but
from
soon
what
as
we've
you-
seen people using it.
Yeah, as soon as you say that, I think, well,
Maybe it
actually,
could. Maybe
I
it could. Because we've been looking at images on Instagram of people using this colour. And interestingly, and because it is interesting when you search a hashtag of Whistler Grey, you see so many different styles. But the majority of people who've used this really effectively, it is one colour. And I never paint a piece of one colour. Very rarely. I'm not that sort of painter. I find it really hard and I get carried away. But actually, this colour suits a big wardrobe completely in Whistler Grey, as you say, just with a smidge, a touch of colour. Maybe it's the key pull or a stripe or the feet or whatever. But then there are some really talented examples, talented painters where they've used it in a completely different way. So it can
Dingley
always
Dell,
be done.
One of our painters in residence, Heidi from Dingley Dell, Dingley Dell Furniture, I think, if you want to look her up on Instagram.
Yeah, hers
And
is a wonderful example.
She's done a beautiful piece, all in Whistler Grey, with the most wonderful flowers on it. It's really fabulous. Lots of good colour, quite strong, because of course it is quite a strong colour,
is strong.
and it can take quite strong colour to go with it. But on the other hand, we've also seen a beautiful piece. Was that by
Paint Me Twice.
Paint Me Twice, who is in Wilmington, North Carolina, and it's chest of drawers. The bottom third, 2/3 rather, bottom 2/3 is Whistler Grey, and the top third is just Louis Blue.
Looks like Louis Blue to me, and
It
then
looks so
styling's fabulous. But it's
beautiful.
very linear. It's very
Yeah.
crisp
Yeah.
and cool. It's got this edge to it.
Yeah.
And we were speaking about Heidi's big wardrobe with the florals all over it. Her base is Whistler Grey, so
Yeah.
it's used on the majority of a piece I see, with then
Yeah.
just something over the top of it. It's really inspired me because we were reflecting on it, and I actually have used it in quite a few pieces. But it's inspired me to use it in a different way now. I'm kind of itching to use this colour.
Well, it's a sort of strong neutral.
Yeah.
That's what's important about it. So it's very good.
And it might be appealing to somebody who has quite a neutral taste or interior design, and they're maybe a little bit nervous of colour. And this is a grey. It is grey, but it's quite a bluey grey, as we said. So it's a way of introducing. If you've got a house which is grey, quite a grey theme, you could introduce this grey, and it also brings in a little bit of blue. So it's a very safe way of introducing that, I'd say.
I wanted to say that actually I think it's really funny that I go, don't add black, but actually you could do a whole piece done like this with some other colour, but with black in it.
I think you need to.
I've got to.
After saying that.
I know, I've got to. I think it'd be really, really interesting.
Or a piece based on form, with using blacks and colours similar to Whistler.
Well, that's what I was thinking of doing.
Geometric
something,
shapes.
Geometrics, maybe some shape, but add some colour and add the grey into it, the black into it, or whatever you want to call it. So one of the other interesting things about Whistler himself, which I think is lovely, is that I see him always as being someone, he was American, and he was American.
Born in America. Massachusetts.
Yeah.
But
raised a lot in Russia,
Yeah.
which is extraordinary, and then he settled and lived most of his life in England. So,
but can I add one thing?
Yes.
But trained as an artist in Paris.
That's exactly, I've
So
forgotten
throw
that.
Paris into the mix as well.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
great. That's a real
yeah. So it's a
range.
lovely mix of everything, and his whole idea of art for the people, art for art's sake, is something that sort of is very, very modern. So I'd love to see some people painting something now in these colours.
Absolutely.
And bringing it all together. I'm going to post pictures of everything that he did, showing the different ways and how he worked. And he's a rather handsome man as well.
Oh, is he?
That's
not why you like him, is
No,
it?
no.
Nothing to do with
Nothing to do with that.
that. Okay.
How shallow do you think
Yes.
I am? No, I find him very, very
But I love it,
interesting.
and I think it's such an anomaly. Gosh, to you and your theory and your love of colour,
Yeah.
because it contradicts everything. So I love that you've got a colour that's kind of inspired by someone who really wasn't into colour in the same way. And the fact it's got black in that colour and you don't do that is a wonderful nod to him and his work. I think that's genius.
Yeah. Well, here's to Whistler and Whistler Grey. Thank you very much.
So that leads us on perfectly to finding out where we're going next, because we're going to stick with the neutrals.
Well, I'm going mad. I'm going more black.
Oh my gosh, what's happened to our Annie, our queen of colour? She's gone to the dark side.
I've gone very, very
But
serious.
you've got a range with all the colours,
did
and
you
we've
not
got
notice
to give
I've
them.
gone gothic?
You've gone, yeah, fully now. Well, there was a photo doing the rounds a few months ago. I won't say any more than that. So, okay, we're going from Whistler Grey to Athenian black.
Yes.
And give us a little bit of homework again. What can people expect?
I don't know. I noticed that some people don't know how to say Athenian black because they don't realise that actually the clue is at the beginning of the name, Athens.
Okay.
So Athenian is something to do with Athens in Greece. I live in Oxford, and my big art gallery here, or rather museum art gallery, is the Ashmolean Museum, and it has the best Athenian ancient Greek pottery.
Right.
I suppose outside of Greece. So I often go, and I do absolutely love the drawings and the pictures on this Athenian pottery.
Right.
It's amazing. So lots of, some of it very freehand, some of it's quite tight, but they are all beautiful. And so I named my colour black, which is a very black on the Athenian black.
Brilliant. I think that's great. So we're not talking necessarily about a specific artist next time. It's more about a place and kind of a style of
ancient
art.
Greece.
Yeah, ancient Greece, pottery. Oh, it's all to come.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we'll look forward to that.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for listening.
Yes, thank you very much. And you remember that I'm on Annie Sloan's Instagram, and you'll see all the pictures from today's post about that. And I'm with Tristan from
Dockhead Designs.
Yeah.
There we go.
Good.
Well, see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
And thank you
okay.
for sharing all of your knowledge on Whistler Grey, Annie. Great. Fascinating.
Bye.